So, the story I'm going to tell you is fairly recent. It happened back in 2020, just before COVID-19 was a global threat. I go by Alex, and my friend, who we'll call Mega, both 18-year-old males, moved to a new city in order to attend college here in Brazil. I lived in a white apartment building with 3 female friends of mine, while he lived in a green apartment building with 2 friends, one male and the other female. Those buildings both faced each other, just separated by a narrow, dark street. Although we both lived with friends, we mostly hung out with just the 2 of us. Now, I'll admit, the town we moved to was not so safe. Every day it seemed like there was another case involving armed robbery, even though it was just a rural town. But keep in mind that most rural towns in Brazil can have up to 100,000 residents, so on a global scale, this town was actually pretty big. That night, we went to a restaurant called Habib's, a very common Brazilian fast food company that specializes in Middle Eastern cuisine. The food there wasn't bad, but the cooks were really slow. Extra slow this time. When we finally finished our meal, it was just past midnight. We discussed what to do next, and I suggested we should go back home, get our graffiti cans, and mess around the city a little bit. We managed this in less than a minute, as Habib's was less than a block away from our apartments. Then we went to a gas station convenience store that was right next to the restaurant. We bought a good amount of alcohol so we could drink while we were walking. Since we hadn't had the chance to really get to know the city until that night, we just went straight to a random avenue and started walking, without proper direction. We saw every type of strange person there. It wasn't a car-busy avenue. The lighting was dim and it was full of homeless people, drunks, thugs, and hookers. No one cared to mess with us though. I was always the type of guy that dressed in a punk style and even had a green-dyed mohawk back then. Mega was more of a casual goth guy. We didn't like to be feared just by the way we looked, but it was absolutely nice to feel a little safer. We turned down the darkest street and descended it until we found a nice alleyway with no security cameras. We started to spray paint the walls. This is something we used to do a lot back in our hometown. I can't explain it, but we just felt safe in there. It might have had something to do with the fact that we were really drunk. It was then it started raining. Not just regular rain now. We'd found ourselves in a summer thunderstorm. In our country, you really need to be scared of lightning, since we have more lightning incidences here than anywhere else in the world. We ran from the alleyway to the street and looked around. That's when I saw a barely lit establishment with an awning in the front door. As we got there, I noticed it was a laundromat, a really messed up one. The awning didn't protect us though. The wind was so furious that we were getting even more soaked and cold. That's when I heard a loud noise. It wasn't coming from the empty street. Instead, it was coming from the building itself. I looked inside the laundromat. It was illuminated by a faint yellow lamp, one of those really cheap ones, you know. No doubt why all of the other lights were already dead. When I searched for the origin of the noise, I spotted a working washing machine. I told Mega about it and we thought it was actually a 24-hour laundromat. I tried opening the door and found it to be unlocked. We went inside and closed the door. To my surprise, it even had a recessed key, probably to protect the users from getting robbed. I remembered all those strange people from the avenue and fear finally kicked in. I locked the door. Inside the building, I started to feel uneasy. Mega was even more scared than I was. I'd actually never been to a laundromat before. They weren't common back in my hometown, but I guess they're popular in the bigger cities. This specific laundromat, though, was far from pleasant. It reeked like damp, dirty clothing. The only dim light in the place flickered from time to time. But the thing that upset me the most was the washing machine. It was so much noisier from inside. I mean, come on, I could hear it outside on top of the thunderstorm. It sounded like somebody was washing stones. Mega then started looking at me and he whispered, "If this is a 24-hour laundromat and there's a washing machine running, then where is the person that's using it?" I froze. There was definitely something wrong here. I thought maybe the person could have gone for a walk or was using the bathrooms. But when I searched around looking for a door that could lead to a possible bathroom, what I saw was something way creepier than you can even imagine. 2 guys were watching us from the darkness. One of them had wide eyes and a grim smile on his face. The other had his head down and was giggling. The one with open eyes was the first to make a move. He was coming right towards me when all of a sudden he stops and says, "I wasn't expecting any visitors today. Boss will not be pleased if we let them escape alive," he said while trying to reach for me. With some quick thinking, Mega sprayed some spray paint right into his eyes. The guy immediately backed off and started desperately trying to remove the paint from his eyes. That's when the other guy grabbed Mega's arm. All I could do was watch at that moment, too scared to do anything. Then I remembered about the stiletto I carry with me everywhere. I grabbed it, pulled the blade out, and stabbed him 2 times in his side. He started to agonize in pain, and as soon as Mega got released, he unlocked the door and we ran away, not ever looking back. The storm had turned into a calm rain when we reached our street. I invited Mega to my apartment and he agreed. We thought it'd be better if we stayed awake together, and my roommates were probably sleeping by that time since they had classes in the morning. When we entered my home, however, the 3 girls were still awake and they looked really concerned. I asked them what was wrong and they told us. We wanted to stay up late tonight, so we went for a short walk. We came back and were in front of the garage talking together. It started to rain, so we entered the building, shut the door, and were climbing the stairs when one of us took a peek at the street through the small window. At that moment, we saw a pickup truck in the middle of the street. A guy was dragging a lifeless corpse to the back of the vehicle, and another guy, that wasn't the driver, got out of the car to help him. When the corpse was loaded, they got in the truck and drove away. We followed up with our own laundromat story. They were shocked. All those creepy guys, they were probably together. We called 190, the emergency number here, you might know it as 911. We told them about the laundromat and gave them our address. The cops soon arrived at our apartment and we told them everything that had happened. A female officer told us that there wasn't such a thing as a 24-hour laundromat in the city. Even worse, the place that we were in had been condemned due to a fire. We were shocked. She then received a message from the radio, letting us know that they had arrested the guys. Turns out they were a dangerous gang of addicts that used burglary and assassination to buy illegal drugs. The dead body that my friends saw was actually that of one of our neighbors. I was never called to testify about the stabbing I did. I assumed I'd be called in order to prove that I was just defending myself. I'm thinking the cops covered this up for me since we helped them catch the guys. I have no idea what would have happened to Meg and I if the other guys had showed up. I don't know what would have happened if the girls stayed outside. And I don't even want to think about what was inside that washing machine. But we've learned our lesson. Never let your guard down in a place you don't know.